Bobcat PTG, or you can call it 2023.2. So we had a very productive day yesterday. So are there any topics that need some follow-up from yesterday? If there is anything anyone would like to follow up upon. Okay, I don't think there's anything. So we will be conducting today's PTG from 1300 to 1700 UTC. Some main things for today are the team photo, which we will be taking 10 minutes before the operator hour. So at 1350 UTC, you can check when it is in your local time. So we have dedicated 10 minutes to the team photo, and after that we will be having operator hour today. So hopefully some operators will join us and give us some feedback. Yeah, these are basically the main highlights for today. So yeah, I think we can get started. The first topic is image encryption current state by Lucy. I think it's Josephine, if she's around.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi.
Just wanted to give a short update. As you might have noticed, the secret consumers are also now in the Barbican client and in Castellan. Barbican client is also already released. Castellan still needs to be released, and I think it's been quite some time, and I'm not sure anymore. Did Cinder use Python Barbican client or Castellan?
I'd have to check, but I believe Castellan.
Okay. So what we are planning to do is we want to just test all the all the image encryption work, inclusive the secret consumers. First on our own setup to already find some bugs in some cases, and then we want to bring it all to the different patches to OSBrick, the Cinder patch and the Glance patch. It's been quite some time. That's why we wanted to, already have a bigger test environment where we maybe also start writing some Tempest tests, or some scenario-like tests, because just want to make sure everything will there will be or there shouldn't be any bigger problems. But I think we will start with this after Easter, and then I don't know if I as personally will follow up in meetings with you, or if someone else will, but we will definitely drive this forward, this cycle, as far as we could. And we have a meeting hour every Monday at, what is this now? Time changed. At I guess 13 UTC. We have a weekly meeting to provide updates and so on in the IRC meeting channel. So you can join also there. I will provide updates every Monday after Easter. And yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to tell you. Also, I see Adeli here. If you have questions concerning secret consumers, I know you wanted to use them also in Cinder. Yeah, you can ask him, I guess.
I wasn't planning on answering questions about secret consumers, but I am here, and we did do the implementation. So just as a note, the Castellan stuff will be all the work is done. We just missed the deadline, so we will release that library probably either this week or next week after PTG. There's nothing blocking us from releasing.
I know projects like Glance sort of needed secret consumers in order to handle things on their end. As I recall, Cinder already tried to kind of manage its own notion of, hey, I own this secret, I better be careful, and clone as appropriate. Is there something that Cinder must do to comply with the new secret consumer capability? Or is it sort of an opt-in? If it helps you, great, use it, but otherwise, you're good.
It's an opt-in kind of thing. We, on the client side at least, if you try to delete a secret consumer, if you try to delete a secret with secret consumers there, that may fail unless you provide a force. Basically, say you can, yes, I really want to delete this thing, even though it has consumers. I don't know if that's going to affect you or not, because again, that's going through the client side. I have to see whether or not we put that within Castellan or not. So I don't think that should affect you because it hasn't, at least it hasn't broken any tests yet. But there may come a circumstance in the future where Glance, for example, uses opts in with a secret consumer, and if you try to delete that without removing the consumer or not using force, that may you may end up with an issue there. I don't know. But then it's just a matter of force deleting, basically. On the API side of things, if you go directly to the API, you can delete without worrying about whether or not this. That may change in future. We'll have to see. But right now, we're enforcing the fact that you need to have no consumers on there before deleting on the client side. But yeah, it's totally opt-in. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So you can't. So a end user can't override that from the.
They can from. I mean, there's a force option, right? That's available.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think we're okay because the secrets that we're keeping, Glance doesn't touch on purpose anyway. So they're sort of orthogonal to the secrets that we're discussing with this effort. But I think we do want to add it because it's like a little safeguard so that people don't try to clean up their Barbican accounts and then make, some images or some volumes, unusable.
Yep. I think that would be totally useful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a few cases where it would be pretty useful for safeguarding around when we do some more work on volume transfer and those kind of situations. So it's going to be on my list of stuff to look into for sure.
Yeah, if you got, well, you guys haven't used. We had consumers before for containers, and it's a very similar kind of mechanism that's there. But yeah, if you have any questions, just
So, Josephine, there's a -1 on the OS brick patch that you might want to address. Be really quick.
Sure.
And then the last time that was run through CI was October 19th. So might want to do that, rebase it on the current master. And
That's what I wanted to say first. Yeah, we have to bring all the patches on newest code base, and test it.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
Sure. Okay. And then, yeah, so what we need to do in Cinder is review that patch, basically.
So is there only the OSBrick patch, or do we have a Cinder patch also for this?
There will also be a Cinder patch. Images need to be decrypted in Cinder, then be filled into volumes.
Okay, so it's creating bootable volumes and also uploading a volume to image. Are these two operations going to be affected?
I would have to look into the spec again. I don't know if we included bringing or encrypting an image which is created from a volume, but it's definitely possible we already done this, and that's a pretty easy part. The other thing, multiple volumes, what do you mean exactly?
Sorry, I just meant we have two operations related to images. One is creating a bootable volume from an image, and another one is uploading a volume to guns. So I was just saying, like, are these two operations affected with encrypted images?
Yeah, I think it's mainly the download one. So that would go in, that code would go into image utils. I think on the upload, the spec doesn't provide for that because there's a question about how you get the key specified. Because the idea is that, right, the end user has control over this thing. So I think there's no provision for the upload path, at least not now.
Okay. And
I guess the other thing, Josephine, was for the Tempest scenario tests, were you going to put those in the Glance Tempest plugin or the Cinder Tempest plugin, or I guess Barbican's got a Tempest plugin? Do you have any thoughts on that yet?
Not yet, but Barbican is definitely needed, so maybe it should be in the Barbican Tempest plugin.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion. Yeah, you'll just have to see what makes sense. I was just wondering if you had thought about that yet. Okay.
we do it directly in Tempest only, like it, rather than choosing a specific client. If it involves multiple projects, then maybe doing it in Tempest might make sense. But yeah, just a suggestion.
Yeah, I guess you might want to talk with the QA team and see if they have an opinion on that. Yeah, because it's, I mean, my interest is just seeing a full end-to-end scenario test would be great to make sure that this works because it's got so many moving parts.
Yeah.
Do we require the glance changes to be merged first for the sender changes to work? Like, is there a dependency, or all these tasks could be done in parallel?
I think the Glance patch and the Cinder patch are independently of each other, but they both rely on the OSBrick patch.
I was just checking the order in which we need to review changes. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be OSBrick first, and then because Glance will consume the encryption part from Brick, so it can do the encryption, and then Cinder will also use it to do the decryption. And I guess if we don't have the ability in Glance, we won't have anything to test with on the Cinder side. So I guess it's Brick glance and then Cinder. And I guess Nova does something too, right?
No, they decided to not use encrypted images because they wanted to implement encrypted ephemeral storage first, so to have a better understanding what their requirements are for encrypted images.
Okay.
But I don't think they are ready yet with their encryption work. I would have to ask also.
Okay, well, you can get around the Nova issue because you just create a bootable volume. Then if people want to use this, they don't really need to have the Nova feature. Okay.
So I think we have a action item to review the OS spec change. I think we had a similar action item last time, but yeah, this time I think everything else is done, so it is on us now. Okay, any other thoughts or comments on this topic? Okay, then we can move to the next topic. Thanks, Josephine, for the update. Okay, I have updated the channel and we have time to discuss the FIPS job. So Adili,
Sure. Thanks. So, yeah, thanks for slotting this in here. I got this in a bit late. I just wanted to get a little bit of update as to where FIPS was, and I've been kind of going through it and just talking to different people, different groups, and so on. The last time we had a discussion here about FIPS jobs, we talked about the fact that we were trying to get some FIPS jobs on CentOS, and we were also trying to get some done on Ubuntu because there was the idea that Ubuntu would be a little bit more stable than CentOS has been, therefore more likely to be able to get to a voting job. We have, it took a lot of work, but at this point, at least with the patches that are up there on 2.18, 2.19 right now, we are able to deploy CentOS Ubuntu jobs with FIPS enabled, which is awesome. And the downside, however, is that FIPS is only available on Focal, and Focal being old also right now does not have a kernel that supports anything other than MD5 for the CHAP algorithm for iSCSID. So especially as far as I can tell, and Eric may be able to talk a little bit more about this, but essentially it seems like we won't be able to use iSCSID on Ubuntu Focal with FIPS enabled because MD5s are disabled by default. So unfortunately, that means, as far as I can tell, now some folks don't care about iSCSID. For example, the ironic folks will still be able to use jobs that are there because they know use iSCSI. And so I do tend in plan to push forward with the jobs that are there to try and get those merged in. Simply because one, it allows us to be able to do the Ubuntu jobs, and two, it simplifies the FIPS jobs that are available to be able to use these jobs there. However, as far as I can tell, then Cinder will not be able to use Ubuntu at this point in time, because I guess you guys need iSCSI, unless of course you guys have some jobs that you want to run that don't use iSCSI. And so we're back to being having to use something like CentOS, and we can look into using something like Rocky Linux, something like that, for possibility of getting something that's a little more stable. Ultimately, though, because Rocky Linux should be like RHEL, which should be like CentOS, then everything that would be done to get the CentOS jobs running and working will be exactly the same as for Rocky Linux. And so while we go through and start testing, Rocky Linux and so on, we still need to get the jobs that are there running and available. I know Eric has dusted off some of the reviews that are over there, and so we need to try and get these jobs in and running and passing at this point. And so,
can I ask a quick question? Ask a quick question. You say that this is all around focal, but we've moved away from focal and we're now on jamming.
Correct. Right. And but FIPS is only enabled for Ubuntu on focal. So they haven't qualified Jammy yet for FIPS, and my understanding is that they won't qualify Jammy until next year sometime for FIPS.
Okay.
So if you can recall, the way to get FIPS on Ubuntu is you essentially have to have a subscription. It's a Ubuntu Advantage subscription, and that Ubuntu Advantage subscription will only allow you to get FIPS for focal. So Eric, I don't know if you kind of have any feedback there as to how things are going on the jobs, if you've had a chance to figure out why there are any of the failures that we're seeing on the CentOS side there.
Yeah, I'm a little behind on the current round of triaging what's going on with the jobs there. My general theory on this was that since we are hopefully in the ballpark of getting this to work on CentOS, was that we could get CentOS non-voting jobs up and running, and then as the next step, pursue Rocky Linux, if that's going to be kind of the preferred base for these in general. I don't have much of an opinion on that myself, but people who have looked more into the issues with CentOS, I think, wanted to go that direction. And I'm assuming that once we get the stuff working on CentOS, it's not a ton of work to swap that over, but I don't know. So the current jobs, were they failing on anything actually related to FIPS, or it's just a handful of other issues? Because I think the FIPS job actually passed. At least some.
Yeah, I think the FIPS jobs, I think there were two jobs there, and one of the FIPS jobs passes and one of them doesn't, all correctly.
My understanding was that FIPS requires a AES 256. So if even focal doesn't support AES 256, so how can you even do FIPS on focal? I don't understand how that works.
The limitation that hits us on that is that we're relying on the in-kernel iSCSI target for LVM, and the target there in the kernel that's in Focal only supports MD5. So this hits Cinder's test jobs, but it doesn't hit all the other projects that are running test jobs.
Okay, so Nova can implement AES-256 then, for example.
Right, because it's a limitation in the CHAP authentication for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kernel target.
Gorka, you
So, I
mentioned
mean,
something about.
so that
Sorry, go
basically
ahead.
means that Cinder. So that basically means that Cinder just period can't support FIPS.
Well, or we have to pick something else to test it with. So we looked at using the user
This is
space
what we're talking
iSCSI.
about. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. Things like Rocky and CentOS.
Well, there's the OS, but there's also what driver we're testing with. So we looked at, instead of using the in-kernel iSCSI target, to go back to the user space one, but it also only supports MD5, so that doesn't actually help. Gorka mentioned the notion of maybe testing with NVMe. That might be a reasonable thing to try. I don't know.
I'm not sure whether that would work actually on Focal.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got new enough.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure it does. I think, yeah, there's a lot of catch-22s around this.
So, Adi, is it okay for your purposes if we keep these jobs non-voting?
I think so for now.
Okay.
I mean, certainly we want to move voting jobs, whenever we can, because voting jobs will be, people
Paid
pay attention to
to.
voting jobs. They don't pay
Right.
attention to non-voting jobs, and if that means doing it on Rocky Linux or whatever, I think that's fine. At this point, it would just be good to get some, regularly running jobs in Cinder. And if
Yeah, I
that
looked at
means
those. Okay.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I looked at those two jobs you had mentioned. That the failure is in a compute thing. It failed to respawn in the amount of time, so it's got nothing to do with this, and then not even with the stability of CentOS, I don't think.
Right.
So currently the jobs you've proposed. I'm sorry, I should look, but I'm just going to ask you. So are they using CentOS now? CentOS
The ones that are
Streamline?
there are using CentOS. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Okay. Right. Yeah. The only advantage I see to using Rocky is that every so often there's a spate of CentOS failures when something, because it moves fairly quickly and suddenly a shitload of stuff breaks.
Right.
Whereas Rocky's going to move just as slowly as Ubuntu does. So that'll be a plus. But okay. Right. Because
Yeah,
these,
that's the main thing that people are, Nova folks and so on, clients have been saying, and most of the jobs that are out there right now that are on CentOS voting simply because of that, because of the fact that every now and then CentOS breaks stuff. Sometimes they've started out voting and then they switch to non-voting because of breakages in CentOS. I don't know if CentOS has gotten better, but we can certainly look at Rocky to see if there's anything.
well, I guess once we've got the jobs running regularly, we'll be able to generate, data to see what's
Right.
happening. So, okay.
Right.
So it looks like, so I don't see a reason not to go ahead and merge these at this point. I'm just wondering if anyone else sees something I don't.
I think I agree. I don't see much reason to not Go ahead and do it.
I may have missed something. Sorry.
Sure.
Shouldn't we waiting for that refactor? Sorry, I wasn't. Because if I understand correctly, the change on the Ubuntu jobs is not just for Ubuntu; it's generic change with a base, and if you change the node set, you can apply the same to CentOS. So if you want to go ahead and merge the jobs for CentOS on Cinder Tempest plugin, Cinder DevStack plugin, and FS, sure, but we may clean up the jobs later when removing that enable FIPS playbook.
I agree. On the other hand, I don't know how long it's going to take for the other two to get merged. I'd like to say that they'll merge soon, but things take longer than I think they will. So in the meantime, it would be nice to have some jobs that are running, and it's relatively easy to modify them once the other ones have merged. In fact, I can add a patch on top of it to show exactly how it would be modified. But it's relatively straightforward. Cool. Well, if there's nothing else, that's all I got. So.
I was just looking at the Cinder patch link there, the 790.535, and we can, look at this and review on the patch, but it looks like it's setting up both MariaDB and Postgres at the same time. I'm not sure what's going on there.
You're talking about in the tool, the test setup.sh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can look at it in the patch.
Yeah, I'll just put a comment there. We can figure that out later on.
I think that's something that may require, if you're using MariaDB, do this. Otherwise, if you're using Postgres, do that, or something like that. Because the MariaDB needed to be changed, needed some config tweaks to make sure that you're not doing NV5 on startup, and then similar kind of things for Postgres.
Well, it looks like even the code that we had in there already is working with both MySQL and Postgres at the same time. So maybe there's just some context here that I'm totally missing.
Right. Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at this code, but I think that probably I would have done this because of the fact that we needed both in there. So I tried something and MariaDB failed, so I did stuff and restarted, and then Postgres failed and continued from there. Well, if nothing else, I will continue work with everyone, Eric in particular, Eric and anyone else. If we can try to get these in, that'd be awesome.
Sure, I think we have a clear action item that we need to review and merge this. So I assume the jobs as of now are non-voting as okay, yeah, we can surely merge them and look out for any failures over the time and fix them if there is any. Okay.
Yeah, this kind of roadblock though is there's several depends-ons, and whenever I go to look at the thing it depends on, those are usually failing. So I've never actually ever seen all this stuff. I guess since they're non-voting, who cares? But I don't know if any of this will ever merge, because there's so many different directions of dependencies.
Well, one of the depends on is that the Cinder patch depends on the DevStack plugin NFS one.
Yeah,
And the
that's
NFS one, yeah, the NFS one's probably lower priority than anything else anyway. So I'm not sure that we really even want that dependency to be there, because I'm not sure anyone is going to run that configuration with FIPS ever anyway.
So yeah, I guess the top level one, right, I've listed all three of them there, right? So the top level one, which is the Cinder one, I guess depends on what it depends on exactly the NFS one, and then the Cinder Tempest plugin one. The Cinder Tempest plugin one is passing, right? So that shouldn't be a problem. And then there's the question of the DevStack plugin NFS one.
Well, the NFS one is only failing on older stable branches, it looks like.
Exactly.
So that might be, I'm not too sure what's going on there, but it might be a whole different thing.
It's something about the Tox environment name isn't found, so it's, who knows. We're integrated full to run the tests. So yeah, maybe just remove that as a dependency for these other things, and we can worry about that separately. Does that sound okay, Luigi, or is that like a bad direction for CI?
For the NFS one, probably I need to recheck which ones are failing, because it may be just the old ones which are not.
Yeah, it is. It's like they're old enough that I wonder why we're running them anyway. So it's like Usuri, Victoria, and Wallaby are failing.
Yeah, for all the DevStack plugins, usually there is some. Well, for the Tempest plugins and usually also for the DevStack plugins, there is some like people going and proposing the change to update the list of the old releases.
Mm-hmm.
The jobs for the older branches. So probably we missed that for the DevStack plugin, the NFS plugin.
So maybe I'll sync with you, Luigi, and see if we can figure out what's going on. Those ones for the DevStack plugin there. I think it's just the old ones that have not been updated.
There was a patch to add the Z and Yoga, but we haven't removed the old ones. So
how far can we remove? Can we remove all the EM ones we don't need to run? So
right, okay. That's the policy for Tempest.
Okay. Oh, all right. So then, okay. So yeah, we can just do that. All right. So we can put up a patch to remove it, and then we'll rebase the Audis patch on that, and we should be good to go. Okay. Are you a core on DevStack NFS plugin? Okay. All right. I'll let you put up the patch then, if you don't mind, and then I can plus to it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, we have around 10 minutes for the operator hour, so we can quickly go and take a team photo. I will just create a Google Meet link because yeah, BlueJeans doesn't capture very well all the people. I will just share the link on the Etherpad.
All right. I'm going to drop because I don't even want to try to run Google Meet and BlueJeans simultaneously. So I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah, operator hour is here,
Yep.
just to mention, and we will meet here in 10 minutes.
So
Thanks, guys.
we are doing the photo right now, right?
Yeah, please join the link
Okay.
on the Etherpad.
Yep. All right, then I'll see you there.
Everyone, everyone here, please join the Google Meet link for the team photo. The link is in the chat.